Alright, so this is the arbor that I've got for somebody that they're making a table saw, and these are the only machine parts that they needed for it. It's on a hobby group that I'm a member of, the Arizona uh, Valley Metals hobby group. He had posted there, asking around for any shops that would be able to do it, and of course, I mean, it's one-off parts. He was getting quoted, over $1,000, which for this, especially for me as a hobbyist, I should be able to turn these out relatively simple. Arbor shaft, a few clamps for the blade for each side of the blade, and a left-handed thread with a nut. All this can go together. Goes onto some pillar block bearings. Has a pulley that'll fit on this end here. There's no call for any keyways, and it looked like there's probably supposed to be a hole drilled through the axle here for this pin, but it doesn't actually spill it out here, so I'll probably wait before I do anything like that. I'll talk to the guy that wants this done. I'm going to go ahead and start. I've got some cold rolled 1-inch and some 3-inch. I should be able to cut this. The shaft itself is about 12 inch, I think 11 inches long or something. It's all in metric, so I'll have to do some conversions on it and whatnot. But I'm going to go ahead and try to turn this out. Alright, I did some quick conversions to thousandths of an inch. The entire thing is just under 11 inches long, so I'll probably go ahead and bring the about 12 inches total. That'll give me a ½ inch I can cut off to get the board out of there and give me plenty of room for cutting off on this end here. So I'm going to go ahead and mark it off at 11 inches or 12 inches and bring it down to this 787, just slightly more than 3/4. Mark this off. I got an 11-inch mark here. I'm going to go ahead and hit that with the tool just to make sure it's a good bright mark. Alright, so I forgot one of the issues with these lathes a lot of people complain about is the spindle bore hole is pretty small, and apparently it's less than 3/4 of an inch. I forget exactly what it is. I think it's like 5/8 or something, at least in the center. It's got a taper on each end, so it does slide in a little ways. It won't go all the way through, so I'm going to go ahead and get this indicated, and I'm going to have to put a steady rest out here. That's about a thou. I think I'm going to hold it at that. Took longer than it should have. Alright, this guy I picked up pretty cheap. He wasn't quite the right size, so I actually just made this little adapter. Set it up so it'll sit at least the right height. And he'll fit pretty much just like that. And then I want to make sure I got the right amount of clearance and everything that I need for here. Alright, so I added my carriage stop here so that I'll bump into that before I go past my my stop. Alright, next is to get the outside diameter of the threaded section that'll be on here. I'll have to double check and look that up. I did double check. I have, this guy's been sitting around for quite a while. It's a 10-inch. I was checking the size here, and it fits just about perfect. I ended up cutting this down to 625, which is 5/8, the same size as the hole. And this here, which is the closest millimeter, is the 16 millimeter, as was on the schematics. When I had marked this off at 9:45, that's where the threads need to stop. I'm pretty sure we're going to be going with a 5/8 fine thread left hand on here. If not, we can still cut it to the right size. So we know that this size is where it needs to be. I'm going to go ahead and pull this out. I'm going to measure off where I need to be on the other side for the length, and then I can go ahead and cut that. All right, I don't have anything to get this super precise other than this guy here. So I've got it bumped up there, and I just scratched in right at 7 7/8. I'm liking this new indicator holder. It actually gets up and over my steady rest there. It's actually quite a bit longer than I need because I've got a center hole drilled in here, so it'll be cut off. Right, so we need left-handed thread on there, and I do need to actually clean that up a little bit. The next, basically two pieces that I got to do are these support plates. Mostly just diameter bored out, you know, about a thou or two undersize to go over this, and then that'll be pressed on. I'll do a quick sketch up so I know my English measurements. $23.76. Getting a bit of a monsoon storm out here tonight. It's always nice, smells nice. Kind of cleans up the air a bit. Alright, that's got us drilled out. Now, this time I'm actually going to do the boring first, and then I'll do the outside second, since the boring is the part I'll be more likely to screw up. I'm also only going to bore about halfway in. That way, if I do screw it up, I can flip it over and try again from the other side. See, I'm getting smarter. Even if I'm not getting better. Alright, so I got this about halfway in. I'm just setting up my stop here. giving me a reading of about 610. Alright, still got about 3 thou to go. That was a 617. I'm just going to do a spring pass on this one and see how much it took out. Hopefully we get it right on. That's 620, dead nuts. Which that should give us a really nice 4 thou press fit. Hopefully it's not too much. Now I can do the rest of it again. And should be able to come out with a much better part, since the rest of it's pretty easy and less critical. And still important, but has much higher tolerance. That's knocked out of alignment. I'm going to have to, I'll do the rest of it on the bandsaw. that should put us about between 40 and 45. Some chamfers. Alright, I think that does it. A little bit warm. Get this blue off of there, it should be a nice looking part. Alright, yeah, so for this guy here, there is a chamfer on both ends. I'll probably just leave what I got there. The whole thing's 6mm, which is about 1/4 of an inch. It'll be 1/4 of an inch thick. And I got to do the same little setback inside of it as I did on the other one. So I'm just going to duplicate what I did on there. But that'll be on the other side, which will be hard to hold. But it'll be okay. We'll do that anyway. See how bad this goes. Broke off the bit. The rest of it I'll have to do in the bandsaw. I'm over here at the bench because I figured I'm going to pretty much call it a night. Pretty successful night. Got this guy pretty much done up. He'll be press fit on here all the way to the back. We got this guy at least half done, at least the outside's done. This side should be a nice snug fit. May have to hollow him out just a little bit. But he'll have the same feature that this has here with this little indentation, so these two will actually clamp together and hold the blade in place. Alright, so I missed some of my video on this. I was stuck in picture mode, so I just got a picture right before I started. I wasn't quite sure how far down I had to go. I'm going to figure about 1/4 of an inch sticking up. Alright, so there we got some threads. Stick this in the lathe. I'll chamfer this a little bit better and run some of the Scotch-Brite over it. Alright, I got the threads on there. I'm going to go ahead and get this guy pressed onto here. So I'll head that over to the press. Alright, so I went ahead and got this set up. Now that this has been threaded, it'll actually slide into here and has me ready for the actual pressing. tight fit. We got this guy. Here's a nice tight press fit. Let's go see how the rest of it looks. Time for final assembly. So I've got the threads are all cut onto here. This is pressed on as it's needed. Saw blade fits and sits nice and snugly, nice and secure. Left-handed thread. It all looks good. So I think that's going to be pretty much it for the shaft, at least until pulleys and pillow blocks. The next step is going to be for the trunnions, which is probably going to be quite a bit more difficult, I think. The actual final steel for this is going to be relatively expensive, probably about $100 worth of steel. I picked up this piece. This is just some hot rolled steel. I'm going to give it a try. It'll be sort of my test piece. I don't know how well it'll turn out. If it turns out well enough, then we can probably make the whole thing out of it. I'm going to try machining this. I'm going to drill some holes in it and bolt it down to my rotary table. And I'm going to try turning everything on the mill. I don't know how that's going to work out, but it's actually a little bit too large for my lathe. I got a 10-inch lathe, and this is right at about 10 inches. You know, I could possibly, but it'll be right at the very edge limits of my lathe's capability. So hopefully I can turn this on the milling machine. You know, I'll set up an end mill and plunge into it, and first I'll round the whole thing. That'll give me a good indicator of whether or not I'll be able to do it, and then I'll give it a try, you know, going through the rest of it. But that will be for another video. Stay tuned for that to come.